So Easy said, "No, KP stood up for this Beyonce record." And it was, what was it? What the fuck?
What record was it?
It's so suspenseful.
You know what the record we're talking about?
What? Crazy in Love.
Crazy in Love.
Yep.
Shout out to Rich Harrison.
1000%.
They was like, no one heard it. You like, y'all crazy.
Tell us about that. So you hear Crazy in Love.
We're in the A&R meeting, and it's just it's like a big A&R room. It's like the head of Columbia. It's like it's the international A&R meeting. And
I hear that record.
I mean, because listen. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. So I'm lucky. I had heard it in an incarnation before that Rich had without Jay-Z, and it was just like him singing
melody.
And I was like,
Rich Harrison is a producer, and he writes Anne-Marie.
Yeah.
If you love Anne-Marie, you love Rich Harrison.
Yeah, you do.
All right, cool.
So he had played me the song, and I just remembered it. So
when you heard Beyonce on it, you were like, "Oh, I know what this is."
Yeah. So then we get to the meeting, right, and they're playing what would have been the singles. They were talking Naughty Boy and like, is it Naughty Boy? Something Sean Paul.
Yeah.
Like that should be the first.
It became a single later, but
it was a single. But I just asked in the meeting, like, "Hey, what happened to the record, the Rich record?" And they were like, "Hey, it's cool." I'm like, "Can I hear it? Can we hear it?" and they, it was played, and I'm like, "Oh no, this shit is actually way more jamming now with Jay-Z." I'm like, what I'm saying? In my head, I'm like, "This shit is nuts," but I recognized that nobody's reacting because nobody knew if they were supposed to react because the head of the company is in the room, so they don't know where he stands yet.
Yeah.
They was afraid to speak
So they just
up.
wait. Everybody's just waiting. So
people waited. Yeah, people waited.
On Crazy in Love.
Yeah, and so the record plays, and I'm still like I'm like in it, like I'm nigga in it. Like, oh my god, this shit crazy. And I open my eyes to see.
No, you're the only one in it. You're the only one in it.
Oh, and I'm like, oh, y'all nuts. And somebody from another end of the table said something like, yo, it's not urban. I'm like, it's a go-go ass sounding record, a Shy Lights ass sample.
A bottom end in it.
It's a fucking Jay-Z rapped on it, and Beyonce is singing it. I'm like, what's like? I'm like, if this shit ain't urban or black, I don't know what y'all want.
Yeah.
And they're like, but Sean Paul's hot right now.
What?
And I remember
like Jay-Z ain't?
Man, I remember throwing a pencil at somebody.
In the meeting?
And whoever said it, I just remember like I had a pencil in my hand, and they were at the other end of the table. I was like, shut up. And it was like, but it was at my most not understanding of
label politics.
Yeah, corporate politics. Like, but I still, it didn't matter.
Did Beyonce know that you stuck up for that record?
I don't know.
So I'm gonna call Beyonce and ask her.
So after,
no, I don't have Beyonce's number.
No, like that's tight.
So yeah. So when you said what you said, you threw the pencil. Were they like, okay, I think KP's on to something?
So then the head of the company at the time, Donnie Einer, called our the dude who did Mix Show, Footy, one time for Footy. He called Footy over to the office, called him to the studio, played it, and Footy did the same shit I did. And he was like, yeah, give it to me. And literally gave it to him, and that night Footy took it to Flex, and that shit played for like 30 minutes.
Boys and girls, this is what I want to say. I want to say this real quick.
Love me.
Let's look at KP, right? And he's been around a lot of stuff, right?
He's still around a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he's been around and he's doing a lot of stuff, and he's so humble. But I feel like right now we're in this time of like, man, look at me, look at what I did, and he's not that way.
Never have been.
And but it shows you the longevity. But because maybe if he was that way, he wouldn't have been around. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like we're in this space of, see, I did that for you, and I did this, and he's still not even taking credit. If you go back and listen, he's like, well, no, I was around it, and a little bit of this, and
he's telling the truth.
But I mean,
let's talk about what.